America will run Venezuela. America will run Venezuela. Donald Trump is saying that America will run Venezuela while we've captured the Venezuelan president. And I want to know how that's possible when America can't even run America. The United States can't even run the United States, and we go run Venezuela? We haven't even figured out health care for the American people. They are trying to cut federal child care payments to all 50 states in America. But America will run Venezuela. How does that make sense? We're not even running our own country. I thought this was all about make America great again. How are we going to make America great again and they run in two different countries at the same time? What makes this administration think that they can run a country? Look at all the evidence. America cannot run nobody else's country because we can't run our own country. So how is America gonna run Venezuela? And it's very clear that was their whole plan the entire time. Ah!
Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Noble, and we dive into world events with a progressive lens, fighting against empire, standing for the oppressed, and exposing how the powerful exploit the weak. Today, we're reacting to that spot on viral clip, the way Americans think it can run Venezuela. Donald Trump is it perfectly sum up the outrage over the US latest power grab in Venezuela. This isn't about justice or drugs. It's straight up imperialism for oil profit. Let's break it down simply and see why this matters. Look, on January 3rd, 2026, the US forces raided Carrasco and kidnapped Venezuela's president Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cislas Flores, hurrying them to New York on Buganico terrorism charges. Trump called it Operation Absolute Resolve, like it's some big win, but it's just the biggest chapter in America's long history of bullying. Latin American think Chile in 73 or Venezuela in 54, all to protect big businesses. Now, Trump's pushing oil giants to dump $1 billion into Venezuela's field, promising them total safety, while the US runs the country indefinitely. They are already grabbed 5 oil tankers and are talking about boosting production fast to clash US gas prices. This screams hypocrisy. The US cries about democracy but ignores Venezuela's variety, hitting ordinary flocks hardest with sanction and now occupation.
You know, Americans will wonder why things like 9/11 happen, but then we will wake up to our president explaining that we are going to run Venezuela after kidnapping their president so that we can send our large U.S. oil companies into Venezuela and extract their oil. All but abandoning the narco-terrorist line and going straight to the truth, which is that America is an imperialist nation that goes to war over resources. On the left, we spend a lot of time talking about manufacturing consent and how our government comes up with bullshit pretexts to explain why it's doing what it's doing. But they're just telling the truth now. For anyone that had any hope that our military was going to maintain independence from the president, look at how proud they are of themselves. We're ascending to a new level of fascism here where they feel like they can do whatever they want and they don't even have to lie anymore. So we have increasingly little reason to wonder why sometimes people abroad return the favor and our chickens come home to roost. Because we are a miserable country and we have always been the terror we have accused others of being. But apparently now we're proud of it.
Last night, Trump continued to double down on his assertion that he's going to control and run all of Venezuela. He said, quote, "We are in charge." So he's in charge. He's going to run it. He's going to take the oil, and he's doubling down on that and not apologizing, despite the fact that there's new polling from Reuters and Ipsos that says most Americans don't support this at all. Only 1 in 3 Americans support the U.S. military strike on Venezuela that toppled the president. 72% worry that the U.S. will become too involved in the country. This was a poll done just yesterday. An overwhelming majority of Americans don't support this, and Congress hasn't authorized it, and Trump doesn't care. He's all gas and no brakes, and nothing is slowing him down. If anything, he's picking up steam.
Now that Venezuela's president was kidnapped, Trump is saying that the American government is going to run Venezuela for the next 2 to 3 months. Is this possible? Is this legal? And how is Trump going to do this in practice? So our government can't actually go into Venezuela and run the country, but we can through economic coercion. Right now, Venezuela has an oil quarantine, which has been imposed by our government, which basically means that Venezuela can't ship, export, or trade oil with any countries that are against US interests. And our government has used this oil blockade on their economy because Venezuela's largest revenue driver is oil. So obviously, if they can't make money for the country and people continue to suffer and the rich don't make any money there, the government will have to listen. That's at least the theory behind this blockade and sanction. Secondly, there's kind of going to be a shadow government from the US. Trump has already designated a few US politicians and officials: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. And these three guys and their teams are setting up a structure and plan for the Venezuelan government to follow so that they're subservient to the US government. On top of that, the US is enforcing the economic sanctions and this shadow government rule and structure on Venezuela by having a military presence in the Caribbean via Navy and Air Force, which is going to be blocking the ships from Venezuela that are trying to transport oil. Even though most of the world has deemed this to be illegal, our government has used something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, which allows our president to regulate economic activity with any foreign nations outside of America if the president has declared an unusual or extraordinary threat to national security. I think eventually Venezuela is going to cooperate with the US and give our government back a lot of the oil assets to companies like Chevron, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, because no country really wants to have continued sanctions and blockades on them. And the previous vice president turned president after Maduro's kidnapping, Delcy Rodriguez, actually reflects this sentiment of mine. She was extremely hostile towards the kidnapping of Maduro and said that this was a very blatant violation of international law. But after Trump had started to issue these blockades, the oil quarantine, the shadow government, she's become more conciliatory and cooperative. She said that she's willing to work with the United States to make sure that they can move forward. I don't think none of the Venezuelan people are going to be benefiting from this. All the Venezuelans in America think this is a major win, but this is not. And if this was a major win, I would encourage the Venezuelans in America to go back to Venezuela and capitalize on this win that they believe in. But I don't think they would do that. I think they would be too afraid to do so because Venezuela is politically very unstable right now.
Holy crap, it's one of those moments where you realize the world just changed overnight because the United States has carried out major strikes inside Venezuela. Maduro's been captured, flown out of his own country, and Donald Trump is now talking about America effectively running Venezuela. And yes, he's openly tying that to rebuilding the oil industry with American companies. This isn't a limited operation. This is a sitting president removed by force, a foreign government taken out, and Washington saying it's going to take charge on the ground with no clear timeline, no international consensus, and a wave of global backlash already rolling in from Latin America, Europe, and beyond. Supporters are calling it justice. Critics are calling it a violation of sovereignty. And the region is bracing itself for chaos, refugee flows, and serious instability. Whatever side you're on, this is intervention on a scale we've not seen in years. It rips open huge questions about international law, about who gets to decide the future of another nation, and whether this is about security, democracy, or resources. Because the oil talk is right there in the middle of it. The noise online is loud. The footage coming out of Caracas is intense. And the stakes are massive. So buckle up, because this story is only just getting started.
Millions had fled poverty, and this raid killed around 100 people. Yet Trump bragged about making money. Even oil exercises like Exim boss says it's uninevitable without massive changes. But Trump's forcing it for cheap energy and control. He even cancelled more attacks after Venezuela released prisoners like it's a bargain for peace. As resource left, not heroin. We need global solidarity, not more Yakins intervention. If we let this slide, it sets a scary examples. Who's next on the list for freedom? The viral reaction video, the eye roll, and frustration. This is exactly how we feel about Americans. Exceptionalism gone wide. Time to call it out. To sum it up, Trump's Venezuela's move is a blatant oil heists dressed as law enforcement, hurting the people while enriching corporations as lefties. We demand respect for nation rights and end to the endless wars and real support for workers everywhere, not this top-down domination. What about you? Share in the comments. This is imperialism at its worst. Like if you agree. Subscribe for more honest talk. See you in the next video.